So here's a picture of what they claim is clean energy. You can see hundreds, perhaps thousands of solar panels, and obviously these solar panels are covering up land that could easily be used, or could potentially be used, or perhaps has been used for um, productive farming, or for a park or forest. Um, and on top of that, all these solar panels very likely made in China, and cannot be recycled. So there are thousands of basically unrecyclable solar panels which have a lifespan of 10 to 20 years, made in China, um, and somehow using a lot of rare earth materials and other things that have to be mined. And we're told that this is good for the environment. I don't believe that. I don't believe that this is good for the environment. I'm not against solar power. I think solar power would has a role. For example, if you in Morocco, for example, there might be areas of desert which would be suitable for solar panels, and perhaps there could be some local industry to take advantage of the solar panels. But you have to realize that it's not just the energy production, it's the storage that's an issue. So unless energy can be utilized immediately, a lot of it would go to waste or has to depend upon very expensive and complicated battery arrangements to store it. Um, it's also very ugly, just like wind farms are. I mean, windmills are cute, but wind farms are not. And also wind farms are made from materials that cannot be recycled, and when they reach the end of their life, or when they catch fire, because they need a lot of lubricants and things like that, can't be used in very high winds either. So they need to be cut up and then put into landfill. So let's stop pretending that this is some sort of magic wand. It really isn't. Solar panels have their uses, and one of them would be, for example, if you had a cabin in the woods or something, and you wanted to generate a bit of electricity for some lighting in the evening, or to run your laptop or something, then solar panels would be ideal for that purpose. But the idea that we can run cities on solar panels is a joke. It's a complete joke. In Britain, for example, we tend to have a lot of wind when the weather's mild. Um, but when we most need energy is when it's very, very cold and there's no wind. So in winter, when it's days are short and there's no wind, we have a minimum solar panel production and a minimal wind power production. So, in the summer when we don't need energy so much, we have plenty of sunshine. And in the winter, when we need energy more, we have less sunshine and often less wind. So I'm tired of being, let's look at these issues. And let's take electric vehicles, for example. They're very heavy. I mean, the battery in a Tesla weighs about 800 kilos. And also, because the battery is so heavy, car parks require reinforcement. Because the car parks are not designed for vehicles that are as heavy as that. And on top of that, because electric vehicles, if they catch fire, they're very, very hard to put out. So they need to have different building codes going forward. We need different building codes to have electric vehicles. Some shipping, I mean, some people are saying, no, we mustn't have sprinkler systems in garages because they're not needed or something. And then we have the same situation where some shipping lines are refusing to take electric vehicles because of the danger of a fire. You can't actually put out a fire on an electric vehicle very easily, because electric vehicles create their own oxygen. So even if you put it out, it can start again. So it's very difficult to put a fire out. They need to be dunked in water. Perhaps if electric vehicles were on the outside of a ship and they did catch fire, they could simply be jettisoned off the side of the ship, but that wouldn't be very good for the environment either, would it? It's also a well-known fact that electric vehicles require the use of child labour, particularly in Africa, where a lot of the minerals used to manufacture these things are produced. So although they try to present us with this idea of clean vehicles, now I've got electric vehicles. I've got Scale Electric, which is fun to play at home. I mean, I actually do have Scale Electric. But the idea that, and again, they might be suitable for local routes. They might be suitable for buses. They might be suitable for electric bikes, and for certain mobility scooters, for example, for people who need to go on local journeys. But they can't. They're not much used as trucks or for towing. They can't be. They can't be. They can't be towed actually. They have to be lifted off, and the cost of repairing them is very, very high. They require specialists, and also if the battery gets damaged in any way, the battery more or less becomes a write-off. They're almost impossible to repair safely. So the liability, also the insurance rates for electric vehicles are rising because accidents are very expensive. And quite often the vehicle has to be written off. And seeing as the average vehicle costs £30,000 or £40,000, that's quite a big write-off. Now, if you have a 2001 Ford Focus, any decent local mechanic would be able to fix it, but at cheaply. But if you have an electric vehicle, you would have to go to a main dealer, and then you'd have to wait weeks for it to be fixed, because there is a very major, not just because of the labour, but because of the technology that's required to fix it would not be available. There's proprietary software and things. The vehicle would have to be rewired or something. Basically it cannot be done by even a local skilled mechanic would not be able to do it. So if you look at this picture, I mean, this is a picture that they actually chose. I haven't actually read this story, but it doesn't matter because you get the gist. Huge potential for solar panels in the future energy mix. Well, I think this picture looks diabolical. You know what I mean? Emissions. You see, there's no, they don't question the so-called science. I don't know. I mean, they don't allow anyone to question any conclusions. As far as they're concerned, the science is settled. But that's not true, because the science is never settled. It's never settled. And we have to do a cost-benefit analysis. Do we want the world to look like this in future? Personally, I think I prefer coal. I mean, after all, coal is from below the surface, so you can still use the surface for farming and other things. And perhaps we can improve the technology used to reduce soot and stuff in the atmosphere. But the idea that most electric vehicles are made using so-called fossil fuels, which is just a terminology that's designed to smear the whole thing, and furthermore, and most electricity is generated from non-renewables. So even though you might have an electric vehicle, you might think, oh my God, it's just magic that this vehicle is moving. But the energy required to create the electricity probably came from gas or something like that. So, like I said, let's not be stupid about this. And also let's see very clearly the agenda, because what they want to try and pretend is that somehow big business and big oil companies are fighting tooth and nail to stop this, whereas in fact they are actually behind it, right?